everybody, and welcome back to another episode of For the Love of Marketing. We're in episode 4, I think, of season 3. I'm losing track already, but absolutely delighted to welcome John Mouratis with us today. Hi, John. How you doing?
I'm very well, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right. I'm all right. Thank you. It's Friday, so we're looking forward to the weekend over here. So all good. All good. Whereabouts are you, by the way? You look like you're in the basement under a car park.
Yeah, that's nearly right. In our studio. It's a new space we got like 2 months ago, so it's still like something I'm very happy about because it's our first space and it's the first, having a space that I think can come together and work together and collaborate and they feel a bit creative. It's extremely important in our industry. So yeah, very
It
happy
looks
with it.
really nice. It looks like a really nice creative space, to be honest with you. I might have to come around and have a nose at that at some
Anytime.
point. Well, look, for those that don't know, John is a video marketing expert. Now we're going to be talking about video and AI today. Really, really hot topic. So much going on. I mean, look, AI is affecting everything at the moment, let's be honest. It's not new. It's been around for decades, but certainly this last 12 months, huge acceleration and real impact on everything that we're doing in marketing. So, John, I wanted to just get into that with you, talk about what you're doing with AI and video, what people are doing, good and the bad, right? Let's investigate all of it, and what the future looks like, which is the real hot topic at the moment. So let's kick off. Tell us everyone about you, John, and your background and what you do with video and your company and all that. Give us a brief.
For sure. First of all, thanks so much for having me. I appreciate that. I always love talking about that stuff. Um, my background. So I studied electrical computer engineering. That's what my master is at. And that's what kind of sparked my interest in general when it comes to technology, science, and all of that kind of stuff. I got into that kind of degree because I didn't really know what I want to do when I was 18. It was what my father did, what was my brother did. So I was like, I had good grades. I was like, yeah, sure, let's figure it out. Throughout the degree, I figured out very quickly that it's not exactly what I want to pursue for the rest of my life. I'm not very passionate about it. I was good, not great. I was good, but I wasn't very passionate about it. But what I was very passionate about it was the technology side of it, whatever has to do with innovation. Then throughout my college, I want to pick up a side interest that can spark a bit my passion more, and that's how I found videography. It's something that my father, it's a big photography fan, so he had a lot of equipment. The new equipment, thank God, has the abilities to do both video and photos equally well when it comes to consumer products. So that kind of allowed me to enter into the videography space, play with it, and then also find some part-time jobs here and there from friends and everything. Then through that was all back in Greece, where I'm from originally. I realized very quickly, I reached a point where I want to pursue video marketing as my career. I was very interested in marketing in general, but in Greece, the industry is very small. So I couldn't do that there. And then that's when I decided to move to London. That was about 3 years ago. And it was during COVID. It was hard, but thank God Brexit pushed me to make the decision and come here, because otherwise after that I couldn't. And throughout these 3 years, I started in film and TV. I was lucky, probably I would say, and I managed to find my first job in Netflix. And then from there, I worked for Amazon Prime, I worked for HBO. I did that for quite some time until I realized that the long form, it wasn't for me. It wasn't ideal. It's the corporate structure of our industry, so it's a bit slower of how you can develop, no matter how skillful you are. It's a bit more of a ladder. So that's when I jumped into TV commercials, and that's what I did after that. And I completely loved advertising, but still I did that as a freelancer producer with other agencies. And I figured out some things that could be done better. The system could be evolved, could be more automated when it comes to process and everything. And but because I was just a freelancer, I had only so much that I can say, and my I didn't make the decisions. So that's when I decided to start my own agency and try to put my own thoughts into practice, test them, and see how they work.
Good. It's exciting taking that leap, isn't it? So you and I are Greek brothers as well, right? So, so yeah, that's nice. So a great story. It's nice to hear a positive come out of Brexit as well. You don't hear too many of those, to be honest. But let's not get into politics. So look, I mean, that's really interesting. Obviously, some phenomenal experience. Places like Netflix and Amazon. I can understand that corporate side. I've been in the corporate ladder myself in my career as well, so I get that entirely. Um, so where did you get into AI? How did you start looking at using that and bringing that into video?
Yes, so I would say again, it's thanks to my background that it doesn't come from the creative side.
Mm.
I'm always very open to. Sorry about that.
Oh, switch your phone off on a podcast, John. Come on.
You can see, guys. You can see. I was
Hang
rushing
on,
into
hang
that.
on. I'm going to check my
So,
own phone now before I embarrass myself. Yeah, we're good. We're on silent.
yes, I'm hugely passionate about technology,
Yeah.
and how that can play with the creative industry, how it can help. So, whenever something new comes out, most people are afraid that, especially with AI, it will take their job. They hold back. They try to fight it. And there is one reality: you cannot fight innovation. The world has to push forward. In a good or a bad way, we are not here to judge that, but it has to push forward. So you have to embrace that change and go with it. The earlier you go, in a better place you are. The harder it is because everyone goes the other way, but you are in a better place for the long run. So as soon as I learned more about AI, I was very skeptical about AI in the first place, not because
Mm.
of how useful it is, but because of how people were creating products around it. But I would say, like, as everyone else, I'm not anywhere special about that, but as everyone else, as soon as OpenAI released ChatGPT into the world and everyone wants to see that, okay, cool, that's a product that everyone can use, everyone can find a use case that they are
Mm.
open-minded enough to play with it, then I was into it. And then that's when I started investing a lot of time trying to find out how it helps, because ChatGPT helps itself helps a lot with video marketing. But then I was like, okay, cool, that will accelerate a lot the whole process. So we will come into specific video applications very soon as well. So just save some time there with the research.
Yeah, good. I mean, it is an interesting area, and I think everyone's playing with it at the moment. There are definitely some risks associated with AI, and I think there have been a number of people that perhaps have jumped on the bandwagon a bit too early. And I think that people have had their fingers burnt a little bit with, especially around sort of copywriting and doing too much around generative AI, which is interesting. There's a bit of news. Obviously, it's a little while. We're recording this a little while before it's going to come out, but I saw some news today about a group of authors suing OpenAI over training ChatGPT on through their publications, their books, ultimately, which is it's an interesting story, that one, and we'd be fascinated to see where that one goes, because that's a real debate around whether AI is infringing copyright or not. I think it's an interesting discussion. But yeah, there's some hot topics there. So what are you using the AI for then? When you're I mean, obviously, you're not just going out and hitting a button on AI and saying, "Hey, make a video for me," right? So, what is it specifically you're focusing on when you're looking at AI within your process?
Yes, I mean, I can do that. I can press just a button. It's
Yeah,
just
yeah, you can.
no one will pay me for that type of for that type of service. So it's an interesting topic, as you said. It's like, especially that you mentioned that many people have been burned. It's the same thing on our industry. As soon as something as hot as that comes out, people immediately, for some reason, think that all of my problems are solved. I don't need to put any more effort from now on.
Yeah.
Put stuff in, some input, some very, very, very basic input when it comes to prompts and stuff like that, it will come out with something amazing. Well, it doesn't work like that.
Surprise.
It doesn't work like that. And yeah, it's also like a mindset shift for people to understand, like, as soon as you can do something that everyone else can do as well, then there is no value into it. You know what I mean? You have to be able to offer something unique. So when it comes to AI and how it helps in our processes, obviously, for any people who are not experienced with video marketing and specifically the video production side of it, these are two different terms. That video marketing is a new term. I would say it's not around for more than 5, maximum 10 years. So many people mix it up with video production. They think it's the same thing. It's not exactly the same thing, but we'll get into more detail if you want. When it comes to the production side process of it, you have the pre-production side where you do all your planning. You might do your pitching to your client, etc., for any project. And then you do like the scripting, coming up with your shortlist, coming up with admin production documents that might be budget, cost sheet, schedules, etc. And then you have the production side, which is the shoot days that you film everything. And then, thank God, if everything has gone well, hopefully, you go to the post-production side, which is the editing process and revisions with the client to go through all the rounds and deliver the assets that you were planning to deliver. Now, on the video marketing side, which is what we do, there is also 2 steps. One step at the beginning and one step at the very end. The step at the very beginning is the strategy, which is like working with the client to understand what assets are going to help them to get the goals that they want to get. And that's the difference between just someone giving you a brief and say, create me that video, for example. And then is the last part, which is the activation or distribution, as people want to call it, which is like, okay, cool, we deliver you the assets, but how can we maximize the value that we get out of them in order to hit those goals that we defined at the strategy phase at the beginning? So there is a lot in the process that AI can help. It cannot help equally on every single process right now. It might do obviously in the future, but right now as applications are. For us, it's more helpful when it comes to the process before the shoot. That's where most of our time goes into. That's where we define most of the things. The first thing that helps us quite a lot with is research. We save a lot of time into research that AI helps us with it. I can also recommend there is a website. I'm sorry about my bad English, I might mispronounce this, but it's called waldo.fyi. So it's waldo.fyi. It's a very strong research platform that is being used heavily by agencies, any sort of agencies, not only video marketing agencies, creative branding agencies, etc. So people can have a look. It's not aimed for individuals; it's expensive, but it's an extremely viable tool. So we save quite a lot of time there, and then we also use quite a lot of basic, I would say, AI applications, mainstream AI applications such as ChatGPT, such as Midjourney. We use them quite a lot for visual references for our pitches, because, for example, if you have an idea that you want to pitch that has not been done before, and no matter how research you do on the internet and on websites that provide visual reference from past other projects, you cannot find something very, very specific to what you want to create. So Midjourney, for example, as a platform can help you a lot visualize those images in order to give a good idea to your client of what you plan to create for them, and at the end of the day, what they are paying for. And then obviously there are other documents such as schedules, budgets, putting like Excel documents together to keep details of crew, anything that can go into it. It might be from our end when it comes to production, it can be transport, accommodation, data requirements, it can be many things. Before that, it used to be production people sitting manually on Excel, putting every single tab. It's great. It's just obviously as we progress with technology, we can understand that it's something mundane. That's something that people shouldn't have to do. So again, we try to figure out how AI can help with that, but it still take quite a lot of time, and it's also like a lot of inspiration to keep watching outside what's happening. For example, again, I think I made a post about yesterday. Now, when I say yesterday, the day before this podcast is being recorded, not the day before you guys watch the podcast. But there is a new thing that a creative agency called, just as a playful thing, which is called the artificial client. Basically, they created 3 personas of 3 types of clients. So people can go there and they can write, they can upload, for example, their script, they can upload their brief, and the client, based on the AI bot, basically, it will give you like a reaction of how a client of that type of persona would react to your brief and what they would say. Again, funny little things, but it's with technology, that's how it starts. It starts with people playing with something and then
Yeah.
being like, oh, there is actual value in here.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, I think AI at the moment is doing a great job of helping in those areas you say, not just for video, but for all sorts of areas in terms of planning and strategy and helping to think things through and maybe get some advice, research something. It can be really helpful for that. You can't just copy and paste that in as your final result, of course, but it's really helpful for just inspiring and perhaps filling in some gaps and prompting you on something you might not have thought of. Really great, as you say, for the more mundane tasks as well, right? So, like you mentioned with those production, I mean, I imagine in Hollywood, I imagine it's being used a lot now in the production teams because that must be saving them thousands on production crew, I would think at the moment. So yeah, that's a fantastic area. But of course, there's also the generative side, right? So generative AI is being used for a lot now around imagery and video. There've been some fantastic things that have been created through it, um, but of course, the danger is that you end up. I think a lot of the time I've done a lot of work with generative AI over the last 12 months, and you end up with something quite generic, often a little bit odd as well. It can take you, so I think sometimes longer to use generative AI to get to something you're actually really trying to get to than actually just going out and filming it yourself, right? As well, which sort of defeats the point. And also it concerns me with any sort of generative AI. How original is that piece? And you don't know that, right? You get something, a piece of AI creates something for you. You have no idea if it's created something virtually identical for someone else next week or last week or whenever that is. So, I mean, what are you seeing with people using generative AI in video? Are you seeing some good stories there? Are you seeing some bad stories there?
Yes, obviously, there are two sides of it. There is the sides of the people who are just playing with it and having
Yeah,
fun, and they might be even creators and stuff like that. And there is a professional agency side, production company side. So it's two different areas we can
of
talk
course.
about. Obviously, when it comes to the individual, it's something very exciting. I feel like
Yeah,
people are doing it because they're passionate about creating stuff. So as soon as a new tool comes out that allows you to do stuff that you couldn't do before, yeah, it's exciting. It just fires up the passion inside you again. So you
I think
just
that's
keep
an
going. And
important point, John. Sorry to interrupt you, but I think that's an important point to make, and I've made this a fair few times over the last few months. But um, if you haven't gone out there and played with any of this, with ChatGPT or with any of the generative image video or video pieces that are out there, go and do it. Right? If there's any area that if you're working in marketing or you're thinking about working in marketing or you're in a creative role and you haven't done that yet, go and do it. It doesn't really matter if you get the right outcome out of it at the moment, but learning it and playing with it now, I think, is important because this is going to grow, it is going to expand, and you don't want to wait till everybody's using it and they're ahead of the game and then try and catch up. So I sorry to interrupt you, John, but just to throw that in there, if you're not playing with it, go play with it.
100%, 100%. And you'll always hear people being like, "I'm too busy to start playing with it." Again, I know everyone is super busy in our industry. It's just super important. I don't remember. I've seen that around LinkedIn many times. I don't remember who quoted first, but people are saying like AI will not take your job. Someone who knows about AI will take your job. It's very true. It's like
Yeah, yeah,
the world again pushes forward. You need to adapt, and not when everyone has caught up and then you're like, oh, I have to do it, because then you're just chasing everybody else.
yeah.
um
You don't have to be the innovator at the forefront, but you don't want to be the laggard at the back, right?
yeah, 100%, 100%. Now when it comes to back to how generative AI, how do I feel about and everything, um it's tricky. Again, it's like if you want to create a video that is purely from generative AI, it's very difficult at the moment. Again, it's AI progresses so fast. Um, when Midjourney came out, we were like, it didn't look very good. That was how much? Like a year ago, something like that,
Mm.
when it first became accessible to the public. Now I can create images that most not experienced people cannot tell the difference if the prompt is good. Um, when Midjourney came out, people said in video it's not going to be able to arrive until 2-3 years after that because of how much complex video is as a moving image compared to a still picture. 6 months after March 23, we had a runway generation one, which was not great, but it was a step towards generating video that was fun. That was fun for people to play with and create pizza commercials on YouTube for everyone to watch. It's fine. It's where it starts from. And then people, as soon as they saw that, they were like, "There is going to be another year until it's ready." Then we had Gen 2, 3 months after, and right now we see generative AI being used on big TV commercials across US and across the globe. It's not. We saw like brands like Salesforce using it and using purely generative AI. But again, it depends on the brand that you are and who your audience is. Now, it's much easier for technology companies to use generative AI to support their brand because on their audience mind, they have the position of the innovator. So people will give them a bit more space on how good the creative looks because they want to innovate with the technology, where other brands, where it's like, let's say, a luxury product brand, like a fashion brand, something like that, cannot go there yet because people expect from them something extremely clean, something extremely premium, and generative AI doesn't do that yet. So it really plays to the strengths of your brand if you can use it or not. But for some brands, yes, it's usable even now that we are talking.
Yeah, it's a great example. I mean, Salesforce have always been and always need to be at the forefront of technology, and you will absolutely forgive them and say, "Hey, look, that's not that great, but look what they've done." And I think that's impressive. But yeah, as you say, if you go out there and have like Aston Martin or someone doing something that's doesn't look that polished, that's going to degrade their brand, and that's a really important consideration. So yeah, I think it is a really interesting area to play with. And I think some brands absolutely can be using it right now. There's some fantastic platforms and tools out there as well. And they're not hard to find. So I'm sure, John, you could list a load, but at the same time, yeah, I'm going to say the obvious thing, but Google it, right? I mean, you will find a lot of them. You will find a lot of video AI tools out there that you can play with at different entry points as well, and different levels of quality. So I think one of the key things with AI from my side, and you mentioned it earlier, is really the prompt, right? It's the brief. So, you really need to understand, especially with video, you really need to understand what you're asking for in detail. You need to have that expertise to feed in. And where you mentioned there, the people that know AI are the ones that'll get ahead. That's a cracking quote, that one. But knowing how to brief AI, whether that's video or image or copy, is what's going to ultimately give you an outcome that is usable. If you keep it too basic and say, like, hey, make me a video of a happy person on a beach, that's not going to get you very far, right? So I think that's critical. So where do you think it should go? We've got a couple of minutes left. I mean, where do you think this is headed, and how far away are we from not needing video agencies anymore? That must cross your mind.
Well, I would say you're extremely far from not needing them from any kind of agency. I mean, it goes to video, but it goes much slower than it goes to everything else. Again, because of the complexity of the medium itself.
Yeah.
Where it's heading now, there are again two sides of it. One is everyone who claims that they know where it's heading. I would say that they claim 100% they knows where it's heading. Don't trust them. Again, it's like I never heard from any professional try to have these conversations. Always tell me a year ago that we are going to be here a year after when it comes to AI. Everyone was really, I have no idea what's happening. So the way it's accelerating, it's much faster than we can predict. What I would say though is it will become more acceptable from people to see generative AI. We went through a phase where we started seeing many videos of AI, generative AI specifically, across social media and across online platforms. People were very much watching every single thing. Now the curve is kind of declining and going down, and people are much more selective. So it's not like as soon as they see a generative video from AI online, they will click on it. No, there needs to be some quality. So people start adapting to it. They start normalizing it, start being like, okay, cool. We know it's out there. But in order for you to grab our attention, we need quality. It's not just you used the technology in the video. We need the whole video to work together as an asset. And that's like the human influence that you cannot take out of it. It's especially when it comes like to agencies. Agencies are not short-term, contractors that do jobs for companies. Usually, ideally for companies specifically, it's a long-term relationship, and the agency allows over a long time to understand the brand, to understand how to represent them through any kind of creative assets, for example, in our case, and be able to not force them to catch up with any new technology that come up. So as long as you have an agency, it's the agency's job to keep an eye on any new technology that comes out and see how they can leverage it. If they don't, you don't have the right agency, and see how they can leverage in order for the favor of the brand. Otherwise, if you cut the agency, if you cut the agency out, people from inside the brand that they were not hired for that purpose have to figure out not only what is the best technology, but how do they even research about that? How do they even, what are the tasks that they have to do, the step to step, in order to understand how we can maximize the value of each technology that comes out? So that's the side when it comes to why I think the agency will always be there as an entity, any kind of agency. Now where it's headed, extremely positive to see generative AI when it comes to generating humans, see how it will come into play. That's the most interesting part. That's how to see how people will react. At the moment, it's something extremely ugly when it comes to how any people look from generative AI, and it's something you can easily spot, and it's very not attractive, if that makes sense. But it will be interesting to see how consumers react to it. And you mentioned before, we have to catch up with the legal side of it. I think, like, for example, partly the reasons that, although I'm not still in it, partly the reason the film industry suffered throughout the summer because of strikes from actors guilds and everything. Part of that was how companies leverage AI without paying what they need to pay and contribute what they need to contribute to people that they take advantage of in order to create those assets. So it's very important to favor the technology side of it in order to accelerate, and definitely not, how can I say that, slow it down. But the legal side has to catch up as well. Otherwise,
legal and political, I would say. And those are unfortunately slow-moving beasts. So it's never going to move at the same pace as the technology.
No.
So it's going to be, I think, multiple years before we have any sort of clear view as to what that looks like. I mean, people are still, I think, to be honest with you, the legal and political situation are really still catching up with sort of Web 2. Really, to be honest with you, so that's, we're talking sort of 15 years. They're still trying to catch up on what the rules are around social media and privacy and things, right? So it's going to take a while for that really to kick in and be a clear picture, I think. And in the meantime, as you say, what moves on with generating humans and all those elements are going to be. I think to be honest with you, I won't preach too long here, but as we move into Web 3. Things do become more decentralized, and things do become more in the power of the consumer, of the masses, the public, if you like. And I think there's therefore a responsibility on all of us to make sure we do this the right way, and we stand up for these things as the actors have done in Hollywood. When we see things going in the wrong direction, we need to stand up and make sure we make some noise about it. We can't wait for the lawyers and the politicians to do it, because they will do it too late. And they will do it often with an agenda as well, especially on the political side. Again, we won't get into politics, but we all know they will, right? So I think that's great. Look, John, some brilliant stuff there. Just tell me a little bit about your agency. Just give me 30 seconds on who you are, so people know where to turn to for this sort of expertise.
Yes, for sure. So the agency is called Storyflow. You can find it online if you click Storyflow. It comes from two main words that I'm really passionate about, which is the story part, in order to help brands tell their story through video, and the flow part, which is the making the whole process very smooth and without any bumps. And my main platform, you can find me on LinkedIn. That's where I spend my most time on. yes, I'm not one of those people who diversify across many different platforms. I love one platform and I focus on it. So yes, you can find me on LinkedIn for any posts around AI and video marketing in general.
Great, makes a load of sense. So thanks very much, John. That's been a fascinating journey through video production and AI. There's so much happening in this space. I imagine we could have this conversation again in 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, and it would be totally different. So yeah, really, really great. There's some great tips there for people to take away as well. So thanks for joining us. Don't forget everyone to like and subscribe to see some more videos from season 3. We've got some amazing stuff coming up and some brilliant interviewees. So stay listening, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next episode of For the Love of Marketing. Cheers, John.
Thanks so much for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks. Take care, everyone. Bye.